Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Roll with the Troll. Hey, today we're talking about Creed. There's a spoiler review.
Yes.
Let's fucking get right into it. The first post-Rocky film in the Rocky franchise.
Yeah.
And kind of interesting that we're reviewing this when just recently we found out there was a Drago film in development.
Oh my, yes.
Behind Stallone's back, and Stallone was furious. We should talk about that pretty soon too.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
His response to that makes me think that he and he said this too. He wasn't really big on the idea of a Creed movie at first, and I think the only reason he did it was to make sure it didn't come out badly. I really do. I believe that he just felt like, well, they're going to do it no matter what, so I should get involved so it doesn't turn out to suck and ruin my franchise.
Right.
So anyway, good movie. I definitely liked it a lot. What did you think, Voice of Reason?
I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I tend to always I love it. Well, you are highly critical of things that I don't even think of until you mention them to me. So
yeah, I like this movie a lot, but look, because they had to break the formula by giving a lot of time to Rocky, and because of that, we didn't really get to know Creed all that well. So throughout the film, I never really know him. I kind of know him. No, and there's also a lot of time on Bianca, too. A lot of time spent on getting to know his girlfriend really well, getting to know Rocky again. We know Rocky, but seeing a lot of him. I think Creed comes across as not just hot-headed, but downright, dark sometimes. Sure. And other times he's real playful. Other times he's just kind of sweet and innocent. Other times he's not. And I don't feel like I get a real sense of who he is. Yeah. So that's why, to me, this film, it could be a little bit better. And with the Rocky films, you knew Rocky really well early on. You knew what a pussycat he was about a lot of things, but then again, he was breaking thumbs and shit because he had to. Yeah. So, you remember in the first Rocky, you had all that juxtaposition in his little apartment, and he had that picture of himself on the mirror as a kid. Yeah. Remember that? And there were just little things he'd say to himself, those little mumbles to himself. That gave you a lot of understanding of who he was. And he kept fucking hanging around that pet place, the pet store, and, bothering Adrian with his jokes and shit. There was in the first half hour, you got to know Rocky well. Here, even by the end of the film, I don't really feel like I know Creed that well. That's my one problem with this movie.
Well, when you compare it that way, then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you initially said we didn't really know Creed, I thought, yes, we did. I felt like we got to know him, but no, you're right. When you kind of compare it to how well we knew Rocky in the very first film, yeah, I can see we missed out, I think, on some opportunities with Creed to get to know him.
This is already a goddamn long movie. Yeah, it was already a really long movie. The fact that they didn't want Bianca to be like Adrian, where she's just a homemaker and she's kind of simple. Bianca has hopes and dreams and everything too. And so they seem to want to spend a good amount of time to show us that. And then there's the whole thing with her hearing, and I just thought, oh my God, this movie's called Creed. Focus more on Creed, Yeah. Another thing too is when we really took a lot of time in the middle of the movie to have him fight, I think Spider was his name, Rocky's old buddy's kid. And that whole thing to me, it really kind of took away from everything else, from the velocity of where we were headed towards, him eventually fighting a champ. So the movie almost could have ended there for me in a way. He had this big challenge and then he won it. And then you got to sort of take a breath and get into the next phase of the film, into Act 3. Yeah. It's a long movie. I like it a lot. I think this movie is really well done. But I do think they're trying to crowbar in a little too much, and that for me got a little. There were times when I'm like, where are we exactly in this story?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of setup, you know, in this, which happens a lot. I mean, when it's the first installment of, it's basically the first installment of a pretty much new franchise, but they have to set a lot of things up, a lot of characters, a lot of stories, and then you build. And so we got a lot of building blocks in the first Creed movie.
Yeah. How about Paulie being deceased? What'd you think of this?
Oh, yeah. I was surprised.
Yeah. And at first I thought, why would they do that? Because you clearly don't know how long this franchise is going to go. So, I mean, the actor's still alive, right? So,
I think.
But I think they had to have him killed off in order to show that Rocky was truly alone going through his cancer. With the exception of, I mean, they could have had Paulie have moved away. I think that would have been better. to make Rocky more alone if Paulie had moved in with his girlfriend far away?
Yeah, I think it kind of worked better this way. I think if the goal was to just really demonstrate this abject loneliness, and Rocky is now just not just lonely, but alone. They're two different things, but he really is alone until Creed pops into his life.
You feel like alone and lonely are really two different things?
I do.
All right. Yeah. So I do like one thing a lot is that right off the bat, Creed loves Rocky. He calls him Unc, and he's very like, I'm with you. You're my uncle. We're family.
Yeah.
And he did that right off the bat. So again, though, see, that didn't really mesh with other parts of his personality to me. He was really warm with Rocky, and then he's really cold with a lot of other people and hot-headed and wants to fight. He's kind of all over the place, and I felt like for a leading guy, I didn't really get him in this film all that well. I'll tell you, one of my favorite scenes out of any Rocky movie is in this film.
What's that?
And that's the moment where we finally find out about the third fight between Rocky and Apollo.
Yeah.
I love that because, we've all been asking about it forever.
Yeah.
Forever. People ask Stallone all the time, like, who would have really won? The fact that he gave a straight up answer, even though we don't know if he was being honest, but the fact that Adonis asked him point blank, he said, there was a third fight, between you and Apollo behind closed doors. Who won that fight? The fact that Rocky tells him just outright, he's like, he did.
Yeah.
I love that. I did not think we were going to get that.
Yeah.
Even though I still maintain that in the future, they could undo that and just make it that he just told him that because that was his dad.
Yeah. They could undo it. Something tells me they won't, though. I think that they're going to stick with that and just Rocky was speaking the truth when he said that.
Yeah. Ding, ding.
I love it.
One of the many subplots and little stories within this movie that I don't know that we needed, but that I did enjoy was when he fights. Well, he doesn't really fight him. He knocks him out real quick in one hit. That guy that was the headliner at Bianca's gig. I thought that was an interesting little scene because of the way it was put together. Because the guy was being a dick, right? Calling him Baby Creed a couple of times like that. Yeah, Baby Creed.
I didn't think that was being disrespectful. That seemed more like playful, like brotherhood thing. Like, I want to get in good with you, and so I'm giving you this nickname.
Well, okay, then maybe not initially, but he certainly was being a dick when Creed said, "Don't call me that."
Yeah, after that.
And then the dude's just trying to flex his fucking muscles. No fucking pun intended.
Yeah.
He's trying to show Creed that, like, no, this is my thing. I'm the headliner here tonight. Your girl's lucky to be at my show, to be performing. And so he's like, man, I'm giving you love. I'm doing it. When you're being a fucking disrespectful asshole, that. When he tells you don't call him that, don't call him that, fucker. So that for Creed to knock the guy, I don't know if he knocked him out actually, but to hit the guy, I felt for Creed because I would have probably done that too. and yet he was turned into the bad guy. And I really don't think he did anything wrong. Maybe he was a little too hot-headed, but come on. It's legit. You tell somebody, don't call me that. They keep doing it. It's a deep thing about you and your dad. Come on, man. So I thought that scene was good. But again, it meandered the movie. There were so many times I felt like we were going one direction. And then we get pulled into this little thing. Now Bianca's mad at him. And this whole thing is going on for like 15 minutes. And now we're going to get back to the movie. But we're still not talking about the final fight yet. We're not getting into that. This movie was long and it felt long. So I do like it a lot, but I wondered if there was I keep thinking, is there a better way to have presented this film?
Yeah. I love the way that it began with adolescent Adonis Creed in juvie, and Mrs. Cosby goes and saves him and pulls him out of there. That just got me in the feels.
Yeah, that was good. Originally when I read about this movie was being developed way in the early days, it was supposed to be Apollo's grandson. Which would have made more sense timeline-wise because of how old Apollo was and everything.
It probably would have been an easier fit.
Right?
Yeah.
They really had to go through hell to make his son fit into this.
Yeah.
So they had to, because remember, Apollo had kids in the first couple of Rocky films, right? We know that he had kids.
Not in the Creed film, though.
No, we don't see them ever again. So we don't have any reference to them at all. We have no idea what their lives are like and how connected they are to Adonis. So when I did originally read that it was supposed to be Apollo's grandson, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And then later, I'm reading that it's going to be his son, and I thought, well, how the fuck's it going to be his son? It'd be like 45 at this point.
Yeah.
But they worked it out where, and this was a smart way to do it. They really just barely were able to make the timeline work, you know, and it still doesn't really work because Creed is 30 in this. It's just like Rocky in the first film. He's 30 and he's just now really going pro and all that, you know, he's kind of old to really be making a name for himself as a pro, but okay, whatever. Let's talk about the ending of the film.
Okay.
What'd you think?
Oh, when we saw this in the theater, the ending, are you talking about when Creed says he needs to prove that he wasn't a mistake? That jabbed me in the heart. When we saw it in the theater, I wanted to cry. That got me on so many levels. I just was so moved, and it fit, and that was perfect.
That was good. I wish though that earlier in the film, whenever he was at, like, I would have liked a few scenes where someone asks him, like, you know, why are you trying to be a boxer? And then he could give some other bullshit, you know, and then at the end you find out the truth, you know, but yeah, really good scene. That was really good. And I also thought that when Mrs. Cosby comes around and gives him the trunks that both Rocky and his dad wore.
Yeah, that was
another great one to really embrace. This
I love
movie,
that we keep calling her Mrs. Cosby.
Yeah, I know, that's fun too. So some of you who are younger might not know, but she was Mrs. Cosby for many, many years. Yeah. And she will always be Mrs. Cosby to me.
I know, me too.
No other way to do it.
And that's a compliment.
Yeah. Funny thing is she's playing the same woman who we saw in those first 4 Rocky films. And yet she plays her completely different. She's like kind of hot-headed, you know, and she's abrasive. And Apollo's wife in those early films was just very mild-mannered, very, very calm, very respectful. It doesn't in any way seem like the same woman, but okay, whatever. We'll let that go. Do you feel like this echoed a little too closely to the first Rocky film?
There were a lot of echoes, a lot of similarities. I didn't feel that it was a retread or anything like that. I was fine with all of the notes that it hit.
See, I feel like it was very close to the first Rocky film.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of ways. I mean, the fact that once again, at the end, he loses in the ring, but wins in life, right?
Yes.
It's a split decision again.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's questionable. You know what I mean? Anytime it's a split decision, you could go either way, really, especially when it's close in points. Both guys spent a lot of the movie romancing their chick, you know, and also being a little bit tongue-tied with their girl, you know, a little bit like they're very kind of hapless. They're very manly in every other way, but when it comes to their woman, they just melt. Yeah. You know, they don't know what to do.
The way it should be.
Well, it's a lot of that in this film too. And again, they're both, you know, a little old to be just now making it. I mean, you realize like Tyson at age 20, like 10 years younger than these guys, that's when he got the heavyweight championship of the world. You know, he couldn't even legally drink yet. and that's not uncommon. Like it usually would be around 20 to 25, 26. 30 is kind of old. But anyway, there were a lot of beats very similar to the first Rocky film. And that the way it ended, the way that he got a shot because of his name, essentially, was also a Rocky thing. Rocky was the Italian stallion. Yeah. I remember Apollo had that line in the first film where he says, you know, on Thanksgiving Day, the Italian stallion, he liked his name and he wanted to give him an opportunity. Yeah. Right? And now this was pretty similar. It's not the exact same thing, but it's close. I just think in a lot of ways, this was almost a little too close. But who cares? You know, it's still a great movie.
I still love it.
Yeah, I still like it a lot. So pretty soon we'll be ranking all the Creed and Rocky films. So we'll have a good time doing that. Yes. Any final thoughts before we wrap this shit up here, Voice of Reason?
I hope that people out there are getting ready to hit that like button.
Yeah, I hope so too. Please support this channel. We don't have anything else going on. We need the love. And frankly, we're
very needy.
Yes, yeah, very much so. So like, subscribe, click the bells, do all that shit, guys. We're going to try not to be away like we have been lately. So thank you all for the support. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of Creed? What do you think of the whole Rocky franchise? We want to know your thoughts, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.